there. Welcome back to the SBP podcast, Mobile Filmmaking. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and you are listening to episode 96. I'm always looking for a way to inspire my listeners. And one way that I think I'm going to inspire you in this episode is going to be through our guests, Colin Babcock and Amanda Smith, who submitted a short film, a music video. It's titled Too Young, to the International Mobile Film Festival for April. You'll be able to see that. I'm really excited about that. But before I do that, let me share something that just may also inspire you. So we kind of made a little bit of an announcement on social media because we just realized, and boy, time does fly, right? But we just realized that SBP, S. Botello Productions, actually is turned actually on March 11th, more officially, 15 years old. 15 years. It's been 15 years of SBP rocking and rolling, making videos, working for clients, and so forth. But also, in 2009, launching the International Mobile Film Festival, which we didn't realize where it would lead us. And here we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of said film festival in April 23rd through the 25th. So if you want to stay tuned to what's coming up with that, just follow us on social media at Mobile Film SD for Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, or you can follow me, Susie Botello. You know, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the way things, when you watch this music video that we're going to show in our film festival this year, along with all the other films, you're going to realize how much things have changed when it comes to mobile film. And I know that for people who were there at the beginning, right, us pioneers, it can be a little rough sometimes because, you know, you want this to really blow up. You know, you want more and more people to see this and to think about this as just as normal as you pull out your phone to check your social media, right? You just do that. But you also pull out your phone to snap a photo. You record a video if you happen to be out, blah, blah, blah. But let's say that you want people to second-handedly or instantaneous think, I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to make a music video. I'm going to share a story. I want to do it through a video or a film. And you want them to think about the possibilities and the opportunities that are there using their mobile phones. And you basically start to do that by making it mainstream, right? We're a long ways to go from that. And I don't mean to sound like a downer here, but there is a plus side to that. And that means that if you are part of the mobile film community, if you are one of those individuals that is making films and videos using smartphones, you're going to get a heck of a lot of attention from the community itself. And it's worldwide. It is global. If it was just think about it this way. And I've said it many times before. There's the fish in the pond and the fish in the ocean. Right now, you are the fish in the pond. And I know that may not seem big for some of you, like big enough, but just think about it this way. There are more opportunities for you to shine. And one of the ways that you can do that is through mobile film stories. MobileFilmStories.com is a platform that gives films shot with mobile phones, smartphones, a platform to not only earn revenue, but to also have your own streaming network in a way, right? It's a streaming service, and it only accepts films that are shot with smartphones, but it also has a side gig to it. It's called The Quad. It's a community space, a public space, where you can connect with other mobile filmmakers and share and collaborate and really, really partner up and learn from each other. And it's very inspiring to see conversations happening there and people connecting there in ways that you can't in some of the other platforms. Sure, you can stream your film on, well, I'm not going to name them, but any other platform. But are you really going to connect with mobile filmmakers? And is that platform going to try to give you exposure? You also have to take control of that yourself by, sharing it on social media and on your websites and whenever you're interviewed and you go on platforms and so forth. And we were just talking about S. Botello Productions turning 15 years old. Why don't you go to sbotelloproductions.com? It's just a little website, no big deal. But there is an article there that we shared, that we wrote, which has a lot of great advice on how to get the most and to get seen as a mobile filmmaker. And our platform is set up just for that purpose and to share the stories made with smartphones, cameras. So listen, I've got these two wonderful guests that are just standing by waiting for this episode to come out. So let me stop blabbing and let me share with you Colin Babcock and Amanda Smith. They are currently in Florida. Well, you know what? Let's just go there. Let's talk to them and let's share with you their story, because their backstory is pretty unique. It's pretty awesome. And I think you're going to love it and you're going to find it inspiring, especially if you're thinking about making music videos using your smartphone camera, which I personally think is a great idea. You're going to listen to a little song, which I did not create. This song is the song in the video that our guests produced. And I want you to listen to it because I think it will give you an idea of the value of the audio in their production. And the visuals are also really exciting and valuable as well. But I wanted to share this with you. I love this song, and I think that it'll make a great intro for our guests, Colin and Amanda.
Someone help me, please. I can still feel everything. I won't see the fire, I won't see me bleed. But can't you see me withering away? Only
Hey guys, we are going to Florida right now. We're going to actually to the beaches in Florida, to the luxury of where our guests are tonight. They are Amanda Smith and Colin Babcock. Did I pronounce everybody's name okay?
Yeah, you got it.
Awesome. Welcome to the SBP podcast, you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Well, for our listeners, just so that you know, they submitted a film to the International Mobile Film Festival this year, which you will get to see this April. And their film is actually a music video, awesomely shot. And it was shot with an iPhone XR, which happens to be the one that I have sitting next to me right now. I think what I'm going to do is share with you how they made this video and have them share with you the synopsis of this video. The name of the video is called Too Young. The story behind the making of the video is amazing. So get ready to have a very interesting conversation because I think music videos tend to be a very great genre for mobile filmmaking. But I'm gonna invite one of the directors, who is sitting right there. If you can see her, I'm just kidding. Amanda.
Yes.
I'll start with you. Share with our listeners the name, the title. Well, we already know the title, but a little bit of the synopsis of your music video.
Yeah, so it's funny because the story kind of is able to be interpreted in so many different ways depending on who's watching it. So the title is Too Young. It's a song that was actually written by my younger sister, who very graciously was just like, yeah, sure, you can do whatever you want with it. I'm not using it. And she's brilliant. She lives in LA. She's a singer-songwriter, also an incredible tattoo artist, just a total free spirit and, doesn't do anything for the money. She just, lives her most awesome life. And, when Colin and I were in Florida at the height of our cabin fever, I guess, of staying inside how many weeks were we?
I think we were like 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah,
in.
just at that point, we're being inside. We were like, okay, we're going crazy. We knew we had to get our creative juices flowing and get something out, and just for fun. And so, I reached out to my sister and was like, hey, can we use this song? And she was like, sure. So we just, she just kind of handed it over to us, which was awesome, and fully trusted in us to do whatever we wanted with it, which was super, again, gracious of her, and very trusting of her, honestly. So basically, yeah, we, during the pandemic, long story short, my dad happened to buy the house right next door to my house that we were living in and decided to flip it. And this house was decrepit. I mean, as you saw, yes, creepy is an understatement.
Haunted house.
Yeah, as you saw in the video.
Is it in the middle of a field? Well, let's tell them a little bit about at least the setting for the concept of the video.
So what's funny was,
yeah,
so basically, I would say that the premise of the video actually came about because of the house itself. So basically, my dad bought this house to flip it. I actually, weirdly enough, grew up going to that house as a kid because my neighbors lived there who had kids our age. And so we always were playing there. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for them and they kind of fled in the middle of the night, leaving all of their stuff. And they just left this house. And so for 5 years, it had been rotting. It's over 100 years old and had been just rotting in the Florida, weather, which is never good for old houses made of wood, And so we were, the first time we went over there to help out with it, we just looked around and we were like, oh, this is just screaming to be made into a video. And so we were like, what can we make? And so that's when we reached out to my younger sister, Haley, and she was like, yeah, sure, take the song. And it really just kind of was a total collaborative effort from the very beginning. We just sat down and were like, what is this about? And we decided that the house was going to be kind of the situation, the body, whatever a person could feel trapped in. And again, it's so open to interpretation, but so we
Well, and that's the thing that's really cool about music is that when you're just listening to music without watching a video, your mind sort of forms its own movie out of it, right?
Absolutely.
Its own visuals.
Absolutely.
So is that kind of what you guys did and then saw the house and kind of connected the two together?
Yeah, so really the house kind of came first. And again, we looked and we were like, this is eerie, this is weird. It felt like there was a story that needed to be told inside the house, and we were just like, what is it? But it weirdly just came really quickly to us. We just sat down and, I was like, oh, what about Haley's song? And we were like, let's reach out to her. So we reached out. She said yes. And we really just sat down at my kitchen table with a notepad and a pen. We were like, what are some images that come to mind when you think about being trapped? And that's kind of where it started. And we kind of, I guess, in the weird subconscious dark places in the back of our brain, we came up with, some of the more vivid imagery moments, like eating the worms and vomiting black tar and her, suspending in the air. And it was just, connecting the dots, and eventually we did. And we created this story. It's basically, we decided it's for anyone who feels trapped in any situation. And what's cool is that we left it purposefully open to interpretation. We didn't want to make it too specific about, like substance abuse or being in an abusive relationship. But those are just some of the things that people have brought to us and been like, oh, it's about this, right? Or, oh, and in the end she dies and she reaches heaven. And, and it's just been really neat to see how people interpret it. But really, the only concrete thing for us was that it was for anyone. We would hope that anyone who watches it who feels trapped can relate to it and find a way to
it gives
have
hope.
the strength. Yeah, to event. It's really dark, but we wanted it to be hopeful in the end about having the strength to pull yourself out of a situation.
And that's the thing about it that makes it the story, is that basically it has a beginning and a middle and an end. Mm-hmm. And that is what's really cool, because you were going through the imagery in this. Colin, why don't you share a little bit about that with us? Because now you shot it because Amanda was performing, right? So
right.
Mm-hmm. How did and so I think it's pretty awesome that you guys together were able to design this, but then you have to literally create the set from an entire house.
Yeah, and that was definitely an interesting challenge that we had. And, I guess taking a step back, neither of us were planning on quarantining, in Florida. I'm from New Orleans, and she was, Amanda's New York based, but she was currently, right before the pandemic, she was traveling the country, and she's on the Broadway national tour of Wicked the Musical. And so she was in Wisconsin and I was in New Orleans, and we're like, okay, the world's kind of shutting down. Like, what do we do? And we kind of, had the plan to, okay, we'll go to, her parents' house in Florida. It seems like a good solid place to go. So I packed a bag for like 5 days and booked it over there as quickly as I could. And she came, from Wisconsin before.
Man, that sounds like a movie in itself.
Right.
Kind of.
Well, yeah, it was like right before, everything, shut down. Yeah. And so, we were in Florida, and it was like, okay, 1 week turned into 2 weeks, turned into 3 weeks. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, where's the time going? This isn't getting any better. This is only getting worse. What's happening? And what was tough for me, but ultimately ended up being a blessing, is that I left all of my cinematography equipment in New Orleans. I've got like a bunch of Cineprime lenses and, a full, cinema camera setup. And I didn't have it. And
well, I'm glad you didn't have it.
Well, hey, we really are too. And it really opened up our eyes as to what you can do with a phone. This was the first film that we shot on an iPhone. At the time I had like an iPhone 7 with like a battery life of a baked potato, and so thankfully Amanda had the XR, which has a great lens and camera that we could work with, and so we were like, okay,
you cut off.
Let's just beef it up. And so
wait a minute. Let's go back to the it keeps getting cut off. Let's go back to the part where you were talking about the phone with the baked potato.
Sure. Yeah.
Right after that.
Okay. Yeah. And so Amanda, thankfully had the iPhone XR, which has a great sensor and, really good bones to it from a camera perspective. We're like, okay, so we have this as a camera at least, what else do we do? So we went online and we bought one of the anamorphic lens adapters and a stabilizer. And we're like, okay, I think this is everything that we need. And so we had our little mini rig, and we at that point we had kind of the story beats planned out. We're like, okay, at this point, she's going to go through the pantry and this and that. And while we had, a great foundation with the house, Amanda can attest to it. I actually got like overwhelmed at certain points because there's just so much junk in there, like to the ceiling, hoarder level.
It was like something
junk.
Out of Hoarders Buried Alive.
Yeah.
And he did walk in and I saw the look of panic on his face and I was like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, I don't think so. And I was like, it's going to be okay. We're going to be able to. It was funny because we had to. I mean, if you thought it looked scary in the video, it looked 10 times worse in person. And it was funny having to organize the chaos in a way that made it pretty organized chaos.
Yeah, I mean, basically we'd pick the rooms that we'd want to shoot in and we'd completely clear it out. And it would be cleared out, and then Amanda and her mom, Terry, who is just a visual little genius on her own, the two of them were able to kind of decorate the sets to look terrible, but like in a more visually pleasing, understandable way, or organized chaos instead of just like Hoarderville, But so everything that's in there is purposeful, and it was meant and placed with care and thought, which is really cool if you look back at it, because except for the bugs,
and you had all the time in the world. Yeah, you had all the time in the world, but how long did it take you, I would say, between the time that you were putting the concept together to when you were building it? And were there times while you were building that set, you guys, that you, Amanda, you and your mom and Colin are all sort of, let's put this here and there, and then from that experience itself, getting more ideas for the video? Yeah.
So what was interesting is, my dad didn't buy this house for us to make a video out of it. He was like, all right, guys, like, are you going to do something with this or not? Because I would like to start making it an actual livable house. And so we actually had to move fairly quickly, and we came up with the concept, and we're shooting the following weekend, which was just a few days after we started writing everything down.
Yeah, so I think it was all written on the Saturday before, and then I think we took that Sunday through Thursday, I guess, and like we're able to organize the house. And
Colin was still working a full-time 9 to 5 job remotely, and so he would, bless him, he would like come in on his like 10-minute break from meetings and be like, how's it going, and my mom and I were just having a ball, like going through the weird treasures of this old house to make it look not like crap, or but like pretty crap.
Yeah.
But it was, this place was really, like Colin said, pretty organized, but all the bugs totally real. The termite poop that the termite poop that I had to lay in on the floor, totally real. This place was truly weirdly like hazardous. We actually, both Colin and I fell through the floor in the same day in 2 separate rooms about an hour apart.
Yeah, it was termite ridden floor, and I remember I was walking backwards testing a shot, and I was just moving quickly, and just my foot went straight through, and I thankfully I hit a support beam, so I didn't completely fall through. But
I was in the next room and I just heard boom, and I run to the other side, and he's just, his legs are through the floor.
Yeah, that was the first for me.
And then not long.
So
after,
you were literally filming in a condemned house.
Yes,
pretty much.
It was set for demolition. Yeah.
But my parents, I grew up on that street in the house next door, and this house is historic and a huge part of our community. And so they were like, you can't do that to this house, and so they're still working to preserve it, and the renovations are going super well, and the floors have been redone.
No more people falling through the floors.
No more falling through the floors.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's not even the worst of it. Actually, I feel like Colin should tell the worst part of this house.
Yeah.
I guess I can start the story. So before we even purchased this house, my mom was in our backyard and she smelled something that, what she described, she thought someone had gone into the abandoned house next door and possibly died. I mean, because the breeze was bringing this scent over to the point where she had to call the police because she thought someone died. And they went over there, and no one had died, but they did find something else. And Colin, I'll let you take it from here because you experienced it first.
Wait, was it somebody who fell through the floor that was underneath
future self?
We were the first to break through the floor, so we can wear that badge of honor. No, it was the smell came from a freezer, and when the people that were there when they left a freezer full of meat. Which sat there for 5 years cooking in the Florida heat. Yeah.
Wow.
And it got to the point where it actually liquefied and dripped onto the floor. And it was like this black, I've never seen or smelled anything like that before. Amanda's dad, Steve, and I were tasked with getting it out of the house and squeegeeing the floors of.
So you put those masks to good use, right?
Oh yeah.
They had actual
ventilators.
Gas masks on for that.
Yeah, it was. It would burn your eyebrows off. It was so
rancid,
so rank.
Completely rancid.
Yeah, I can still smell it today.
So that freezer was originally in the pantry that we filmed in, where I eat the worms. And while we were filming, Colin and my mom had because the smell was still so incredibly potent in that room. But we knew we wanted it for this shot. Like, we had to have it. And so Colin and my mom were in these full gas masks. And because I had to keep performing, and I had makeup on to make myself look gradually worse and more sick as we went on, and I couldn't put a mask on, I had a napkin full of orange peels that I peeled off that I would cover my face with in between takes because I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was rancid. So actually the take that you see when I put the worms in my mouth and gag was a real gag because I tasted the air.
Yeah.
It was awful. The rancid meat smell. And I don't eat meat, so that was particularly traumatizing.
I don't even think I'm gonna eat meat ever again after.
It was
this. Oh, well. So now that our listeners are probably gagging.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody.
So tell me a little more about so once you guys had everything filmed, tell me, because there's some color grading on this. Where did you guys? And we'll go back to all the stuff in the house for a minute. I just think our listeners might need a breather.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the post-production process a little bit.
Yeah, so we used Filmic Pro, the app, so we were able to shoot flat, which was really great. And I think we shot log, and that's what helped us give us a little bit more flexibility in post with color. And I was actually surprised how much play I could have with it. I did all the editing and color in Adobe Premiere. I figured, okay, let's just do it all in one place. I've done a little bit of work with DaVinci Resolve, but I'm definitely more comfortable in Premiere, so I stuck with that. But yeah, was able to do it all in there, and was even able to kind of do the special, kind of all the visual effects with like the levitation. You know, what I spent the most time on in post, believe it or not, was just hiding electrical outlets, and like masking them, because we wanted it to have like this old house feel, and like we felt like in some of the shots there's just like these big ugly, you know, outlet plugs, and we're like, okay, let's just hide those. And so just going through there and doing that, and like blowing out the light from the windows, because we want it to be like, we didn't want you to feel like you were in a neighborhood or anything like that. I wanted to feel like there's like this weird, you know, kind of otherworldly, you know, sense on the outside, and she's trapped in this dark house. So yeah, that was what, you know, a lot of it went in. But yeah, it did, I think everything in Premiere.
Aesthetically, the look of the video is very professional. I mean, it's like something, you know, you see an entire crew working on, you know, just getting the set ready, you know. And I mean, you almost feel, I mean, you didn't use any special lights with gels or anything like that, right?
We didn't have electricity in the house.
Yeah, there's no electricity in the house.
Yeah, so we shot it in like I think two 4-hour segments over the weekend, because we had the morning light for that was made it soft enough and even enough throughout the house before like the kind of harsher post afternoon. So, you know, like on a Saturday from like 8 to 12 and Sunday from 8 to 12, we basically shot the whole video in the house, and we had to keep it as consistent as possible. So we, you know, had that flexibility in color and post. But yeah, thank you. We're definitely really proud of how it came out, and you know, we watched it and we're like, holy crap, we did this with the phone and just a couple
with the phone and just, you know, Amanda and her mom. And then, but of course, you know, the other thing too, that because you used that song, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That also raises it, because everybody knows that sound, whether you're capturing sound, you know, but the audio in your films, right, must be good. So my gosh, if you've got a awesome song to go with it, you've already got more than half of your video. How should I say this? Just impressive, right? Because that's a big deal. I mean, I've seen music videos, right, and they still work. They have awesome songs, and the visuals in the video are like, you know, a bunch of home videos, and, you know, from like the 80s or something, you know, kind of slapped together with some and they're done that way on purpose, you know. And so, but as long as the song is good, you know, and you're telling that story, that's part of the music, it's pretty amazing. But you guys have both going for you. And so it's just like, wow, Universal Studios type thing.
I think that was a great source of, I think, positive pressure. I'll call it positive pressure because, you know, obviously we know the artist very personally because it's a family member. And the song is so great that we didn't want to drop the ball and do wrong by her, you know, and because, you know, she put a lot of effort and time into creating such a beautiful masterpiece of a song. I love the song, which is, I guess, why we did it, you know, because we love it. But doing right by her was, I think, kind of a big motivator for us. And so, you know, I think really kind of stems back to her vision that she kind of inspired us, and which hopefully will inspire others too.
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible song. There's no doubt about it's a professional grade song that you would hear in other movies, you know, and we were able to get that, you know, without any kind of upfront cost, which is, you know, fantastic. And, you know, having the house next door, which was the perfect spooky set that we could kind of mold any which way, was really, you know, it's what some, you know, studios and production houses would pay thousands of dollars to rent or use or build. You know, we were able just to kind of hop next door, which is really great. And I think having those two things really ups the production value. And we didn't, I think the total budget was like under $100.
I think we spent like $74 or something.
Yeah.
And most of it, I had to buy the hospital bracelets in bulk. So I think most of it was so we have like 200 hospital bracelets.
Yeah, we still have them just sitting around.
And what's really cool, actually, my mom, again, she did most of the set design elements and the prop elements as well. And on the bracelet, and you'd have to like maybe pause it and zoom in 180 times to see it. But even the details down to the bracelet, it has my sister's name on it, and the date is Mental Health Awareness Day. So it's tiny details like that yeah. I think, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, the few of us involved, I wish we had more people involved sometimes, but the few of us involved put a lot of love into it. And I think into the tiny details. And
and that's what makes it. That's the thing that people forget about, or thinking, oh, this will do because you're shooting with a phone. It's like, guys, don't treat it like you're shooting with a phone. The phone is secondary.
It was the least glamorous. I think it was the least glamorous job I've ever done. Well, maybe not, but it's definitely up there on the least glamorous jobs. Again, with everything that we had to kind of fix and work through. But man, it made us so grateful to have the finished project. Again, we have hilarious behind the scene pictures that we'll have to send you of, up close personal shots of like me literally lying in rat and termite poop and Colin standing. Actually, it looks like he's sitting on top of me for like this up close shot. My mom took a picture because it's like me lying on the ground, which is horrendously gross and dirty, and then Colin sitting on top of me with the camera in my face.
Well, it was like hovering like right above you. It wasn't sitting on you, but yeah.
It definitely looks like it, but
Now, Colin, that would have been hard to do with your regular camera, right?
Yeah, so there were a couple times afterwards where it was like, oh man, this video came out so great, man. Like, what would it have been like with our full camera rig? And it was like, oh, you can always play like the what if game. And then we thought about it and we're like, we couldn't have pulled this off.
There were certain shots that weren't physically possible with the large camera. They were barely possible with a thin iPhone. Things like when I vomit the black tar into the mirror, for example. Colin was holding, we didn't have a trick mirror to do that in, with the gigantic camera.
The phone was pressed up against the mirror. I couldn't see the shot.
Yeah, Colin couldn't see the shot. We had to do that shot over and over just to make sure I was in frame because I was constantly out of the frame and you couldn't see the tar. So we did that shot probably like 8 times where I'd have to
vomit the tar out.
Put the tar, which was chocolate syrup with activated charcoal in it. And I would shovel a disgusting amount like halfway down my throat, and then he'd say go and I'd run. But it was funny seeing how we'd have to adjust. He physically could not see the shot. We just had to hope that we were getting the right footage, and eventually we did. But things like that we could not have done.
And like the overhead shot where you come out of the bathtub with the black water, like I would have been terrified to hold a huge rig, right above you like that. But with a phone, it was just super simple. And then I was able to get right in your face for a few shots. And we have quite a few tracking shots and a lot of movement in the video, and to throw it on like a Ronin stabilizer, even having to move dolly tracks, which we know the floor doesn't work because we fell through it. Like that would have just been terrible. And it just gave us full flexibility to just roam around the house, and no room was too small or nothing was too daunting, which was very freeing.
Would you have also been afraid to bring in equipment that could have gone through a floor?
Definitely, it's heavy.
For sure.
Yeah, it's heavy. Like God forbid you put it on a tripod and you get the full rig with the monitor and the recorder on top, and the second you put it on, it just falls through the floor like a Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, like a cartoon.
Yeah, that would have been awful. But I think our whole get up was like 2 pounds. So with the stabilizer, which was great.
Wow. Amanda, did it inspire you to maybe you can shoot something next time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely have been thinking of quite a few projects that we're interested in doing, and some that are in the works. Colin has such a wonderful artistic eye. And what I think is so great about when we work together is that we both have similar strengths, but we appreciate each other's what we each as individuals bring to the table. So I've learned a lot about setting up certain shots. I've since done a few things where he was like, all right, now you're in charge of this. And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. I primarily have a background in theater, like you said. So, I've learned a lot throughout this pandemic about how to even hold a boom mic. Oh my gosh, I've never gotten such a good arm workout than holding a boom mic.
I used to do that. Yeah.
It's a rite of passage.
It is totally a rite of passage. And, I've learned so much from that. And I think we're looking forward to creating more projects where hopefully we can rely on each other to just be like, hey, you got this, great. And I think we've learned a lot from each other in that sense. But I've totally gained an appreciation for the more technical aspect of film. And I'm actually particularly interested in the production side of things, like producing. So I think I'll leave editing.
I think you guys will make
editing to Colin.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys make a really, really good team. Why don't you share a little bit about and I hate to jump right into this, there was such a great juxtaposition between the imagery and your performance and the words to the song.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys talk a little bit about that? Because obviously your sister wrote that song, but it's very sentimental.
Right. So my sister wrote the song without going into too much detail. She had basically a life-threatening surgery that went horribly wrong and left her with a lot of nerve damage that she still has to deal with to this day. But, shortly after it happened, she suffered a lot of nerve damage, was in excruciating pain for months, wasn't able to eat. My mom was out there in LA taking care of her, and I got a phone call and she's like, can you come out? I really need help. I haven't slept in like 4 days with your sister. And I got there, and I'll never forget what it feels like looking at your sibling. She looked like a barely alive skeleton. And, the hospital wouldn't readmit her because they're like, oh, I'm sure she's fine. And thankfully, we got her in a few days, probably before she starved to death, because she wasn't able to keep anything down. And so the story, a lot of people, again, because there's a very specific line about, pour these pills down the kitchen sink. A lot of people think that the song is immediately about addiction, which it can be for if there's someone watching it who does, struggle with something like that. But for her, it was relying on these pills that weren't even working for her. And so she had to find other alternative medicines to deal with that pain, so too young. I mean, this happened to her when she was 19.
Wow.
And to go through a very, very near death experience for her. And, that this is what came of that. This was her expression of that time, which was horribly dark. And I just, again, saw a glimpse of it when I was there. And from an outside perspective, it was horrifying. And so I can't imagine what it was like to experience it. And so there are a few references that are specific to her in that experience that we put in there. But we wanted to, again, leave it very open to interpretation so that, again, it was for anyone who's feeling trapped in a certain situation. But yeah.
That's the message. That's the message. But like she says as part of the lyrics of the song, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you're watching the video and the imagery, they connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we didn't want to. We wanted to take her experience. I think the way we both work and a lot of projects that we've been working on and are continuing to construct, we're both very much visual people. Like, how do we take a literal sentence and show like how does your brain interpret this? And I think I know I definitely am, and I think I can say that Colin is too. That we love kind of personifying what is happening in your brain instead of taking a literal interpretation, which is fine. You know, some people are really, really wonderful and effective by showing, you know, that you could absolutely pour pills down a kitchen sink and that would resonate with someone. But we kind of wanted to make it, again, something that's a little more.
It's the in between.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The in
exactly.
between the visual and the and what the words say, right?
Yeah,
that
it's not
has
literal.
that,
It's not as literal, you know.
right.
And she was really happy with that, actually, because, you know, we did run it by her, you know, like and she was, you know, she's also an artist and she wants her words to resonate with people as well. And so I think to have the video not be so, you know, exactly what she says is what's on the screen, you know, but they do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
They do complement each other. And it is you know, it's kind of the nightmare version of a living nightmare, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the messaging in that video is really, really intense. And again, the song is such a beautiful song. You know, like if you pretend that you don't know the language and you're listening to the song, it's a beautiful song, you know. But like I said, it's the imagery that sort of brings the message that the song, the words of the song and the meaning and all those things, so that in between layer is what people interpret subjectively.
Yeah,
You know?
and we didn't. I think our main goal was not to alienate anyone and feel like,
did a
well,
good
I
job
can't
at
relate.
that.
Oh, thanks. We never wanted someone to say like, well, I didn't relate to that, you know. And maybe there is someone, you know, that, you know, art is so subjective, but you know, the people that we've been able to show it to, our peers and family members, have all come away with a very different feeling, mood, interpretation, story from it. And I think it's based on people's personal life experiences. And that's what's so cool about doing something that's a little more like abstract. Yeah. There we go. Abstract. And I love that. I've always been into like weird performance art and and all of that jazz.
Is your sister, when you guys finally finished the movie, you know, when you finished editing it, Colin, how did you guys decide to show the film to your family, or, you know, how did that go? I'm just curious.
We Skyped Haley, actually.
Aw.
Yeah, and so we kind of got to watch her watch it for the first time, which was really, really special. I think she was just thrilled with it, which I think for us was.
I think she cried.
She did. Well, no, she's gonna hate if I say that she cried, but there may have been a tear or two. But she.
We were. I mean, that was the person we were most worried about showing.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it's her song, her baby, and, you know, we kind of, I don't want to say hid it from her, but we didn't want to show her any the in progress work, because there's, you know, you have all this raw footage, and it took us, I guess, a month and a half to really refine it and finish it and complete all the editing, because there was just a lot of heavy lifting we put on the post side to really make it pop and make, you know, everything work. And so, you know, by the time we finally showed to her, we were like, what if she hates it? You know, that was
the biggest fear.
It's like Thanksgiving to somebody that you just met or something, right?
Right.
And you're cooking the whole meal and you're like, oh my God, what if after all this they're vegetarians and I just cooked a whole turkey meal, right?
Story of my life, first of all. But yes, exactly. And so we were just thrilled when she loved it. So that couldn't have been much better. And then everyone else has also been super supportive about it. So I think, you know, and of course it's your family and friends, so of course they're going to be supportive and love it. But we're very happy that you know, you guys have seen something in it as well, and we're excited to have it out there and show the world.
Yeah, I think our listeners, when you see it in the film festival, it's gonna blow you away. I mean, Yeah, I'm really impressed with it. I always see the stories behind the stories, you know, how stories are told with film. And I'm mesmerized by it. But I think part of it is this experience that you guys had in making this. When I saw the video, I immediately, you know, after I went through the whole video and went, wow, right? But I immediately went, oh my God, what they must have gone through to make that video.
Yeah, it was definitely a labor of love, but I would have done it again in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
And I've showed some of my filmmaking friends, and they're all like, "You shot this on an iPhone?" They can't believe it. They're like, I didn't know you can do that, and it's the technology's caught up, and it's awesome.
Yeah, and we look back on, again, all of the weird stuff, the horrible meat freezer and the falling through the floors, and the fact that we had no electricity in the house and we had to wire it from my house next door, you know, with like 8 extension cords, and you know, no hot water, so the bathtub was freezing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
The bath water was
oh my God, I was thinking about that.
That felt terrible. Yeah. I was like, okay, let's do one more take, and she'd give me the looks like.
It's like, are you crazy?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem.
Plus, you're probably hoping that the bathtub doesn't go through the floor. Was that upstairs?
It was upstairs, and actually, and thankfully that was a pretty secure area. And what was even more of a kick in the teeth is that my dad got the hot water on the next day.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Oh.
And we got power, and the hot water and power.
Hot water and power came on the day after we finished shooting. We're like, oh, that's fantastic. That would have been super helpful.
It was just meant to be.
But,
Steve.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
well, I was going to say you're a really good actress, but now I'm thinking it was all real.
She's method, you know.
Yeah, just method.
Eating worms.
Yeah, that's it.
Sitting in cold tubs.
Well, you know what's funny is, and you know, and I actually have a behind the scenes video for anyone who is a big animal lover, like myself, or anyone from PETA that was gonna be like, how could you do this for these animals? You know, when we were like, oh, well, what are the worms gonna be? And I had lizards growing up, so I was like, oh, we can go get mealworms from PetSmart. That's what we did.
Oh God.
And so, you know, we put them in you know, we opened the can and fake opened it, you know, with the mealworms on top. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, they were all well taken care of. So I looked up what mealworms ate and what they needed to survive. And I didn't realize that mealworms were just baby beetles. And so they eat, you know, dead plant matter and stuff. So we have a compost in my backyard. So we're like, oh, we'll release them. And so we have a video of me in my hospital gown releasing the mealworms into the compost.
And you actually ate like little cut up pieces of like,
noodles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we switched out the can for a can of noodles that we made.
Oh,
so,
I can breathe now.
Yeah, I did not actually eat the mealworms. I think it would have crushed my soul a little bit. No, I actually released them. So we had a surprisingly large amount of beetles in our backyard in the coming weeks. And I don't think it was by coincidence. So.
You know, Colin, when you were saying that your friends were thinking about, you know, like, can't believe you shot that on the phone. I've actually, a lot of people will sometimes say, if something comes out that good, right? They'll try to, the people who don't yet believe in it, right? They don't believe that you can shoot anything that great, right? They'll still say something like, well, it was, you know, look at all they had to do in post-production. You know, it's like the thing about filmmaking in general is that there's 3 parts. There's pre-production, production, and post-production.
Right.
And with the mobile filmmaking movement, right, a lot of people think more about the production and forget the other 2. And the whole thing is that it's dinner is not just the salad, right? I mean, you have to have all 3 of them to complete this process properly. And I think that when you people who criticize it like that and say, well, look at all they have to do. And I'm thinking, well, didn't you have to do that with your DSLR too, though? Like, I don't get.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, even cinema, grade equipment, it's all the same. You have to go through the same process. Like, if we didn't plan it out, we wouldn't have known, what rooms to shoot in, what angles we were going for. So like we spent, about a couple days in pre-production for the video, and post. It took a long time, but to make someone levitate on an iPhone versus a DSLR, like or something bigger, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same amount of time. You still have to roto out. You have to work through. We didn't have a green screen yet, so I had to completely
we didn't have a
roto
green
out.
screen.
Yeah, that stunk.
I was balancing on my back on a bar stool.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we didn't want to.
And he was able to.
We didn't want to like bend your with the puppet tool in After Effects, which is what some people do with that. We wanted her to actually like move her limbs to make it look like it's moving, and so we wanted to make it as authentic as possible. So she got a good ab workout in, arching her back and moving the limbs ever so slowly.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, in the post, like, coloring takes a while, and getting the final edit takes a long time, and for me it was no different. The post process was just as long as it would have been with any other camera. But what we were able to get with the iPhone, we couldn't have gotten with any other equipment,
especially not in that amount of time.
Yeah, we were under a super tight schedule, and like if you're going to be a run and gun, filmmaker, and you're, I'm not going to suggest you steal shots, but let's say you want to go and steal some shots.
Hypothetically speaking,
you can do that if you just run out with a phone balanced on like a DJI stabilizer,
because everyone's got a phone. No one really think twice about you having a phone.
Yeah,
having a phone out.
Well, the whole real purpose of getting permits for things, there's two different aspects to that whole scenario, of course, which is property rights is one of them, but the other one is when you're out just shooting stuff, if you're not bothering, if you're not obtrusive in any way, you don't technically need a permit.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I think Tangerine, that movie, kind of proved that when they were able to get some shots in diners and on the streets of LA with just like a 2-man crew or however many people there were. I think it was a sound person, and the director is also a cinematographer there, just with the iPhone and a gimbal. And that's, I mean, it's super inspiring, because it's like, okay, you can get much higher quality production value, films with a fraction of the budget, and it's really great. And I've since upgraded to the iPhone 12, and we're just so excited to like get out there.
Oh my God, it's a feature coming up next.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, what can we do with this camera?
You really could, and it's awesome, and it's super. We're really excited about it, and what we can do. I still have the other equipment, and there's times for that, and there's times for what we're trying to do, but I think we're going to start seeing there to be more, mobile phone film festivals, or there's going to be, and what we started to see is like larger festivals having a mobile phone category, because and I imagine it's probably what happened when DSLRs came on the scene. It's like, okay, let's have the DSLR category now. DSLRs are mainstream, and I think we're going to have that natural evolution from a festival standpoint, and I'm excited for it. I'm glad that we were able to experiment and fall in love with this method of filmmaking.
And I think it also opens up the playing field to people. Obviously film equipment is an incredibly expensive investment, and there are so many.
But the camera is
wonderful
the
stories.
worst.
Yeah, and exactly. But everyone has a phone, and there are so many wonderfully talented, creative people who just don't get a chance because, you got to pay to play the game. And now you don't have to pay as much to play the game, to have a really fantastic story with a beautiful vision. Because again, we spent like $74 on this whole thing. I mean, and so hopefully,
imagine Colin, imagine what you could do with all the equipment that you have for your pro cam, right? But instead of going out to get another camera, right, you combine that equipment with your iPhone.
if you could do that kind of,
Of course you can.
well, like,
I mean, if you're okay, so lighting, right? Your lighting
yeah,
equipment,
yeah, all applicable.
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
If you need to, most of the time when you're making films, you're in the independent and Hollywood. I mean, you're capturing sound externally, anyways.
Right, exactly. And you can time code
Yep.
sync with Filmic Pro. Yeah, that's great.
Yep. So if you have you have some great lights, you have some external sound equipment. You can still do the boom.
Mm-hmm.
You can teach Amanda.
Experienced boomer here now.
Right?
Boomist.
And yeah, and I mean, all you have to do is replace the camera with your phone, and now you're going to save a few bucks, right, from the next model of the camera that you want. When I used to film stuff, like my biggest drawback was always I want to get the new camera. I want to get a new camera, but
Planned
there's always that one new one coming out.
every year.
And at the same time, you're trying to save your money. Right? Yep. And then you have to get more new equipment to go with that new camera because, you have to get stuff. And it gets overwhelming. But one of the first things that I attached to my phone, and this took me months. This was a long time ago. This was, I think, 2012, 2013. Whenever the iRig came out, you know what I mean?
Yep.
The iRig Pre. That's when I finally found how I could at least get an XLR, because I already had an XLR. I had a Audio-Technica boom microphone, shotgun microphone, sorry. I had the boom. I had the cables, and I still have this tripod. It's like a $2,500 tripod that I barely use for anything. It's got a great fluid head though, so if I ever need to pan,
heavy.
But right? Yeah, and I'm like, wow, so it looks, great, like, oh yeah, but I mean, quite honestly, it's like if you're already a filmmaker, right? You can still use all this equipment. You could, I mean, we used to go and rent wheelchairs from the blood bank here in San Diego just to do productions, to shoot some promo videos and things like that instead of getting a dolly.
Oh my gosh,
you
just sit in the wheelchair. That's
this is back in
fantastic.
Yeah. Back in 98, 99. Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's my world. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun, to do. But yeah, the San Diego Blood Bank would rent them out to us, So whenever we scheduled a shoot like that and we needed it, we wanted to get some awesome B-roll, we would just do that.
You make it work. So, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it was awesome because you'd be like, all right, everybody walk down the hall, talking or whatever, and you're sitting, and somebody's pulling. Sometimes it was me, holding the camera with your elbows in, and just aiming and framing the shot. And it's fantastic. And it's fun as heck also during breaks.
Oh,
absolutely.
Pop a wheelie. No. Yeah. If you're, if you're really in a pinch, just go to your local grocery store and get a shopping cart, I guess.
Right.
Maybe
or one of those walkers or something, even.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, we had the DJI stabilizer, and it was it's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fantastic how
easy it is to balance. Because I don't know if anyone has had to work with a larger stabilizer for like DSLRs and up, and it's just like it takes like an hour to balance it properly unless you really.
It's like you're on a boat.
Yeah, and then you run out of battery, and you're like, oh my gosh, swapping batteries, and you're breaking your arms holding up. Or your shoulders at least, holding the camera up if you don't have, the full like suspension rig. But with this, it's like, okay, you can just kind of switch it from hand to hand if you want to, and it's just super easy. And the battery life is, you can go 4, 5, 6 hours on a single charge, which is killer because then you just don't have to stop. You just keep moving.
When you can take a board, put some carpet on it, right? and mount the phone on it and put some skateboard wheels. Skateboard wheels are the good ones. They're really smooth.
Yeah,
They're perfect.
Exactly. I mean, you can be as low budget as possible and still get the same exact effect. Like whether it's borrowing a wheelchair or a shopping cart or just putting on a skateboard, it's really awesome because you really can. You can do anything. It's even some people I've seen use those little hoverboards or whatever, the light up ones. So you just hop on those, and that's there you go. There's your stabilizer. So it's awesome.
Yeah, there's so many things we could go on like this. I hope you guys are taking notes, listeners.
Hoverboard, check.
Yeah.
Steel
Well, I think.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Are you on the quad at the Mobile Film Stories?
I am. Yeah.
I think you are. I thought so. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Because everybody go hop on the quad and hover on down. And you can connect with Colin. Yeah, we're sort of using that as a it's not even comparable to coming to the film festival, but in a way it's cool because the flip side of it is you get to reach more people and more people get to reach and chat with you and connect with you. You may have some collaborative projects, maybe a hand for your next film.
Yeah.
Are you planning on, do you ever come down to the West Coast?
Yeah, definitely. We haven't been recently, but once the this whole pandemic's over, we're planning on spending a lot of time over on the West Coast. Amanda's sister, who did the song, she's out in LA, and we'd love to go visit her and be out there. So,
you have to, all of you. You have to hop on over. Tacos are on me.
Yeah,
I'm the taco girl.
Yes, get the
Don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, Mission Beach breakfast burritos all day. Yeah.
Oh my God, we have the best.
They are.
We have the best tacos. We have the best Mexican food. I don't care where. In my world, it's like not even in Mexico is it better than what we have in San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it's like I lived in Italy, in Naples. And I remember when I went for pizza there, and I was like, I can't wait to get back to the U.S. so I can have real pizza. Oh. And my mom was laughing at me. Because American pizza is not what you get when you're over there. Each region has their own. But in Naples, it was like you have to beg for cheese. It's like, what is this? Because they put the fresh mozzarella on there, and it's just a couple little dots on there, and it's like, wait, I want my gooey, lots of cheese.
Yeah, meanwhile we have like 8 cheese pizzas.
I know. You're my,
oh my God,
cheesy crust.
You actually reminded me of my sister when we were younger. We went to Italy. I think actually we were there for her 10th birthday, and I think we were in Rome. We were definitely in Rome during her birthday, and we went out to a little restaurant, and she got ravioli, and the first thing she said to my mom, she was like, just like from the can. My mom was like, what?
Chef Boyardee's exquisite cuisine.
Chef Boyardee's exquisite ravioli.
Iron Chef Boyardee.
That is so funny. Yeah, and actually in Italy, also coming from Spain, the food, everybody thinks of Italy as like pizza and pasta. And that's just a third even of what they have.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of their food is just so good. Oh my God, I'm getting hungry and it's too late.
Yeah, well, how about we just meet? We'll meet you in California for tacos, and then we'll hop on over to Italy.
I'll tell you what. So we're going to have to invite all the filmmakers from the last 2 film festivals, as soon as this whole pandemic thing is over, to come down to San Diego. And we're just going to have a big celebration of what all of you have accomplished. And who knows, maybe we'll just have to make one big video. And maybe Colin will put it through Adobe Premiere Pro and colorize it.
Perfect.
And your sister can do the music for it, and it'll just be awesome.
sign us up.
Yep, and you bring the tacos, and I'll bring the Chef Boyardee.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Chef Boyardee. All right. Any last words? Not like we're going to die here or anything, but any last words for our listeners?
Just hope everyone enjoys it, and please feel free to reach out to us. We're on Instagram and we're on the Quad, and would love to connect. And we're bummed we can't be there and network. That's like the a really amazing thing about these festivals, and we'll make the best of it, and we'd love to talk to whoever. If anyone has any questions, we don't like to hide our secrets. We like to enable the community. So if you have any questions on how we pulled anything off, we're happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, and especially just to reach out about those questions, or even future collaborations as well.
Yeah, always on the hunt for good
fresh
help.
Content.
Yes.
Well, Colin, congratulations on not getting killed going through floors.
Amanda went through too.
Amanda, congratulations. I feel like I'm congratulating because you just came back from a war.
I did feel that way.
But Amanda, your performance was great. Your sister's song was awesome. And Colin, you captured it all very well.
It was a collaborative effort all around, and we ultimately had a great time doing it, and 100% would do it again.
Yes,
would
and
on that
had we had what?
We could vacuum up the rat poop first. That would be great. But I would do it again.
or at least use fake.
Yeah.
Yes, fake rat poop would be ideal.
Why have fake when you have the real?
When you have the real thing.
It was perfect.
Right? Oh my God. Well, if they only said that in Jaws, right?
Right.
Why give when we have,
I have a fake
real
shark.
sharks?
Use the real thing.
Right?
Maybe if Kubrick directed it, you have a real shark.
And well, on that note, guys, we'll say goodnight. Say goodnight, or don't say goodnight, because they may be listening to it right after breakfast, but say goodbye to everybody.
Thank you so much for being on here and listening to us rant about our disgusting stories. Hope we didn't lose too many of you from the get-go.
Hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you enjoy all that the festival has to offer.